Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? Kevin here, coming back at you with another video. So, we've had the noise on this thing. I pulled the engine off, pulled the top end off, looked inside there, saw a stain on the crankshaft, but after doing further investigation, it was just a stain. There was nothing wrong with the bearings, nothing wrong with the seals. So I went back, I put the motor back on after I got off the screen, and so I took some paint and I painted it, and you can see how hot that exhaust pipe looks. So I had a couple of things that was going on with this bike. One, the bike was a basket case when I got it. It sat in the basement for a long time. Guy had some issues with it running, and then parked it there, and then he wanted to convert it over to 12 volts. I got the bike for $100, and then got the thing home, put it back together. I put a CDI in it, changed it all over, and all that. And I've only ridden the bike since I've owned it, like between 10 and 10 minutes. I want to say about 10 minutes per run. Okay, never really ran it. And I've always had a problem with the back wheel getting all covered with oil. And you can see it all dripping down there, all the soot. There was a lot of soot coming out of this thing. So we've cleaned the carburetor. We've changed out the oil pump. But the oil pump was gone at one point because it literally went through a tank of oil just sitting there. So the pump was worn out. I did replace the pump, and that took care of that problem. But I still had the oil on the back wheel and rim, which is not a problem that I come across a lot. So what I did was I put the bike back together. I didn't do it on screen because it was just kind of I already seen it like a billion times on all my videos. So I put the bike back together the way it was, for the sound diagnostics and all that. So after running the engine, I could still hear that weird funky sound. It was just a weird sound to the motor. And it sounded like it was coming out of the crank area, but it wasn't. It was coming out of the exhaust area. So, I did everything. I put a screwdriver up to it, listened to the screwdriver. I couldn't hear any bearing noise. So what I did was I took the baffle out of the exhaust, just for the sake of trying it. Took the exhaust baffle off. Now, before, the bike would only do just above 30, about 32 miles an hour. And the top speed on this bike is like right around 56, so I was missing like 20 miles per hour. I took the baffle off, and man, I tell you, I could hit 55, 56 miles an hour, no problem. Put the baffle back in, and when I had the baffle out, the noise was gone. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the right direction now. So I took the exhaust apart, and I tried cleaning it. I soaked it in acetone. I soaked it in muric acid. I soaked it in gasoline. I soaked it in anything and everything. Parts cleaner. I couldn't break up this carbon. In fact, I even took a propane torch and heated the thing up till it was cherry red, and guess what? Still couldn't get the carbon out. So then, I'm going to put you guys in the stand, and I'll talk to you about it. Okay. So then, I cut the exhaust in half. I looked in the front here, and I couldn't see anything that was a problem. So, because of the way it's shaped. So I cut the back. See this piece right here, this pipe? This pipe was part of this pipe, and I cut it just in front of the weld. So there was a weld right here, where this pipe and this pipe were connected. I cut it just in front of the pipe, and when I did, I cut out this hole. Okay? So there's a little plug that goes on the end of that. Here it is right here, this little cap. This cap right here was part of that, and when I cut on the front side of the weld, it actually chewed through that. Okay, cut that piece off. Now you see these it looks like a turbine. If you can see that now. See, it looks like a turbine. Those were all clogged up, and this piece right here was on there, and it was forcing the soot out through around this. So now I opened this up, and all the way around, and it definitely increased the power. So instead of welding this back on, I left it off, and then I took a length of pipe, copper pipe right here, This is the 3/4 pipe right here, and a 3/4 to 1 inch adapter. So I took the pipe, I slid this pipe over this pipe and cut it down. And the reason for that is the reduction in size. I wanted to reduce the size of this pipe because I opened up this piece. Follow me? So I'm trying to reduce the diameter of this because this is a baffle right here. You don't want to cut that off because your bike will be super loud. But by reducing the diameter of it and using the screw holes through the center of it, it breaks it up enough. I used self-tapping screws, and I'm using 10 by 3/4 on there. So by doing it this way, what I'm actually doing is I'm reducing the baffle pipe. Okay. Now you can see how it's already carboned up. I already tried this out. I already tested it and I love it. Okay, so now this pipe right here is now a little thinner, a little thicker. So this diameter pipe actually reduced, but doesn't matter because we opened up the center hole by cutting off that little plug I showed you. By cutting off that plug. And then the screws go through the center of it anyway to also reduce it. So it is pretty quiet. Well, I mean, it's louder, but it's quiet. It's not as loud as it would be if you didn't put this baffle on. You need this baffle. If you take this off, this bike is going to be super loud. So this baffle right here is definitely needed. This modification definitely woke up this bike. And I put on... I took the carburetor back apart because trying to diagnose it. I put the 77.5 back into it. Now I can comfortably run that 80 main jet. So very happy with that. So now I have the 80 main jet in the bike, and I just got to wash this stuff off right here. But it's not. It used to smoke like a banshee. Now it's not smoking at all. I mean, it's doing its typical, but not like it was. I'm using low smoke, so it really helps. And then it just slides right back in. And there, I'll get that all buttoned up and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got the baffle back in. Now there was supposed to be a tailpipe that really reduces the size on the outer part. I haven't put it on yet. I gotta locate where I did with it. I don't remember which box I put it in, but I do have it. So I also want to talk to you guys about this exhaust system on this bike. Now the exhaust system on this bike doesn't have any baffles in it. So if you remember when I cut open my KE 100 one, it had the 2 baffles. This bike doesn't have it. This whole exhaust is an expansion chamber, which is awesome. And it has plenty of power. Now I can do a wheelie with this bike like no problem. So, well, I'll let you hear it. How's that? I'll fire it off. Oh, put that on there. Yeah, put that like that. No smoke. Nothing. Sounds good. Motor's quiet. Everything sounds great. And has a nice crisp sound to it. So, it's not obtruse loud, but it definitely sounds like a 2-stroke. And it has a lot more power. When you take off in first gear, the front wheel just wants to come up. This thing has got some crazy power to it. And of course I changed the rear ratio, so I mean that helps with bringing the front wheel up. So now I got to clean the bike up, and this thing is ripping, roaring, ready to go. We're going to order the front wheel, the tire, this week, get a new tire put on it, and then it's just a matter of cleaning this bike up, and then over the winter we're going to do a full-on restoration on this bike and bring it right back. So at least we know the engine's good. We've got the basically the bike is back to where it's supposed to be, and then we can go then and clean up all the parts, do a full-on restoration over the course of the winter, and be done with it. So I mean, it's got a lot of cleaning up to do. You can see the rust on the back, and this modification is for the following bikes: the MC1, the KM100, the KD80M, and the KD100M. Those are the 4 bikes that this video right here will cover with that exhaust system on it. That's just that style bike. So once again, the MC1, the KM100, the KD80M, and the KD100M. And with that style exhaust, there's no baffles in them, and that modification that I did really put some serious power to this bike. I mean, this thing has got some power. So I love the way it pulls, and I'm using I told you guys it was a 16 tooth front sprocket. I was wrong. It was a 15 in the front and a 42 in the back. These are the sprockets for the KE100. So 15, 42, I am going to change that to a 16. I think it would give this bike a whole different ball game. But other than that, it's working great. So I can't complain, no problems. So anyway, guys, I'm off. I just figured I'd do a short video and show you guys my exhaust modification on the KM100. And it works great, it's phenomenal. Like I said, you're actually reducing the baffle pipe by, I want to say about an eighth. You figure both side walls, 16th, so 16 and 1/8. So, and you're trying to compensate for cutting out this hole. You know what I mean? So, anyway, guys, I'm off. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I hope this video helps you guys out with your projects. And don't forget that awesome, what do you call it, snap-on cooking pan will be done on the 30th. So, if you guys get a chance to get over to that video, get your name in there. And then we'll be picking a winner on the 30th. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. Bye.